right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam McKay Marf, and we have had a huge issues trying to get on, and I'm just feeling very blessed that we were able to get this show on tonight. So thank you guys for joining us. We're going to be talking about all of the current events tonight. We actually had a plan to talk about some very alarming stuff over on Marfoogle News, but that will be pushed off until this weekend. It is regarding possible mines off our coast, or at least the debate around it. Some really strange things are happening, and of course there's a debate on Twitter whether it is something totally okay or something totally creepy. So we'll go over that later. But remember, you can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over at our website, marfooglenews.com. And of course, let's get into it. World is on the brink of hybrid World War III, which will lead to radioactive Europe. The world may be on the brink of hybrid World War III should Russia be successful in its horror invasion of Ukraine. And I just want to point out, they always have a descriptor word. If they're talking about Vlad, it's the despotic or mad or insane ruler or whatever it is. They've been calling the invasion of Ukraine the horror invasion. But I just don't think it really puts the right image in your head. Russian President Vladimir Putin has pushed troops further into Donetsk, and should the despots' war, and I said it's every time, war be a success, may lead to radioactive Europe in an all-out war with NATO countries. Experts believe areas of Europe will fall to, quote, ecological catastrophe should Putin's forces overcome the defending Ukrainian troops, and it could spark copycat wars across the globe. This is actually what we have talked about for a long time, and it's kind of crazy that MSM is now matching what this community has talked about for years now. As far as copycat wars, it has been my theory, and now my theory is people are going to go, oh, you just read that on an article. I've been saying it for 5 or 6 years, that there is going to be not only one, but multiple of these wars that end up popping off at the same time. If it is true, what we believe is true, it is going to be to split up the United States military and our allies. If you have multiple wars going on at the same time, if you split our military, that is the only way to actually beat the United States. Right now, it looks like we are having many events happening inside of our country and outside of our country that is meant to diminish our country in general. So this is kind of crazy that they're lining up. It's like they're talking about copycat wars, but also think about it. If we do not do, they're saying if we don't do this, then other countries are going to do this, when they're already going to do this. They are already in mid plan of trying to take the U.S. down a notch. And that is all led by China, Russia, Iran, and everybody else. So, and then, of course, the GlobSEC group has warned a sudden drop in Western support and aid packages to Ukraine could be the triggering point of Russian victory. So they're trying to point that if we stop giving money, that all of a sudden it will be an absolute victory. I am sorry, but I think that even if we send them money for the rest of our lives, that they're still not going to win. That's just, and I'm sorry if people feel bad about that, but that's how it is looking. They are hiding their tanks. They can't even put their tanks on the front line because they get destroyed immediately. Russia is now having help from North Korea, from Iran, and from China, which has now been verified with ships taking supplies straight from China right into North Korea and then into Russia. So they've got plenty of backup. Ukraine has the U.S. and NATO allies, and pretty much everybody, including all of the public, is done supporting it. They are not a NATO ally. They are not an ally in general. Again, they're just kind of there. Those nuclear threats may continue to grow as aftershock of Ukraine's war loss spreads rapidly through Europe. Polish President Andrzej Duda has already stated that he will launch nuclear missiles if necessary, and radioactive contamination will follow. That was, again, Polish president. That wasn't the despot Putin. That was Andrzej Duda. It says continuing risks of nuclear contamination in Europe caused by artificially provoked technogenic catastrophes like Zaporizhia, with consequent after effects of humanitarian and ecological catastrophe on the entire continent. So one thing I think of is if there is something some sort of event that would go down like this that would change the world, that would get us dragged into World War III, obviously the entire world would react to a disaster like this. If they're talking about it, there is a slim chance that something like this could happen. If you are in this community, then you probably know when they put signals out like this and articles out like this, you always got to watch out because sometimes it ends up being true. Again, we'll talk about this and much, much more on tonight's episode of Marfoogle TV. So don't go anywhere and make sure to subscribe. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. I'm not going out there where apocalypse from Marfoogle News. Where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News. All right, going back to this article, again, just to read this next part, experts believe and these are experts, right? And not too many people respect the experts field anymore. And kind of I'll explain why here in a second, but experts believe as Russia expands into other parts of Europe, an all-out war with NATO, which will not exclude nuclear components, will begin. New theaters of war may open in other parts of the world too, with alliances between Russia and North Korea formalized. They're essentially saying that these other wars would pop up. I'm not an expert, that's for dang sure, and I've been saying this for a long time, and so have you guys. A lot of people in our audience have called this out. Now the experts, which if this was 20 years ago, oh, well, he's an expert on it, we, respect his view. Obviously now that's been diminished with usually experts are experts because of their degrees and years and decades of study into it. But now you see on the plastered all over the news, the people that are going to be our next experts are a bunch of idiots. So it's part of diminishing any kind of value in the schooling. The group warned that Russia might feel all ready at some point to attack other states like Georgia, Kazakhstan, and Moldova. It says, and a conventional war of NATO countries with Russia would increase. And it seems like they're getting prepared for that with the 15 and 30-ton bombs that they're making, as far as they're making conventional bombs that are the largest on Earth. Basically, the biggest bombs without going nuclear. They're making a ton of those in mass production now for whatever reason. They say it's for Ukraine, but some of us have filled in that blank with NATO instead of Ukraine. As far as this goes, obviously there's a lot of propaganda, and the reason I say that they always point out things about Putin is we are viewing news from the Western narrative, and of course we have all of our governments doing shady stuff too. All of the governments of the world really answer to somebody higher. It just may be a different higher person that they're answering to, but all of those people high-five behind closed doors. You have rich families that have funded both sides of wars for as long as there have been wars. So when you get these kind of things, it's like there is a reason, and I know none of us can really see it or even grasp that people would want war or would want massive amounts of people to perish, but there are people out there. In fact, there's a lot of people out there that would love if there was less people on this planet. Some of them are very open about it. Those same people are the same ones with the most money in their bank accounts. And when you really want to talk about power, it's not a title or a presidency or a prime minister. It's literally how much money is in your account. That's what it's broken down to in 2024. Pretty much everybody knows that money is the evil running the world. And again, it is also the power that runs the world. And it's pretty scary because what the money is saying right now is that we need less people and we need to have everybody under one umbrella. So think about that. Do you think it's going to go against their way? Do you think that the poor people are going to get their way against these super uber rich that own cities and towns and whole states? I highly doubt it. But, again, we can fight. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Again, the last 2 weeks since certain topics have popped up, we have had a really hard time getting on live, so I appreciate everybody that has made it. I tried looking at the kind of docket of what we were talking about today, and I was trying to figure out, is there something that really is just on that point, but it doesn't seem like it, so I don't know what the heck is going on. So thank you guys for your patience. I appreciate you. Normal show time is 15 minutes after start time, not 30. So thank you guys for being patient, or 35 or something like that. They would not accept our lives. So thank you for being patient. Again, and thank you guys for supporting. Thank you for being here. This whole 5 years has been absolutely a crazy, crazy ride. Dex, let's talk about the fire at the Iris T producer Dale Metal is involving a bunch of really dangerous chemicals.
Well, I mean, normally here in America, we wouldn't think much about an issue about a building on fire, even with the fact that it's causing, a hazmat type issue in another country like Germany, far, far away from us. But this one's kind of important. So let's pay attention just a little bit here. So yeah, a severe fire did break out at Dale Metall steel plant in Berlin. They had massive toxic smoke, dangerous chemicals stored, including sulfuric acid and copper cyanide. And the blaze was reported. It started early in the morning today. So it's been going on for a while. I don't know the status of it. But what's most important to understand is that this place actually manufactures defense products, such as the Iris T air defense system, and it operates out of southern Germany. And I guess the literal place may manufacture components for it, I guess is what they're saying, or has some sort of relation. But the point is, as a defense systems manufacturer, as a defense contractor, even for another country, and they catch on fire, maybe it's just accidental. Maybe we need to look at it and see if there's something else going on here. And that's sort of why we think this is important to pay attention to, at least see what's going on, because we keep hearing these notions from Russia about you're going to have events happen to you. And when they specifically called out Poland and France, but they were referring to all of Europe for that matter, anybody in the West, from within, and you're not going to know who's doing it. And that's what they said. So pay attention. We'll see what happens of this, what comes of it, if it was just an incident that happened, or if it was something greater.
So basically, any event that goes on in Poland or in Europe in general, it's like these kind of either infrastructure getting damaged, like if somebody has a bridge and it's an accident again, or if a chemical factory that's able to destroy huge swaths or send a cloud that could screw up entire neighborhoods, if not entire miles and miles and miles of area, then it's like they kind of said that these things would happen, but you wouldn't know who actually did them. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening. But we're following it very closely, and we'll see what happens next. And then Israel gives Hamas a week to strike a deal. There's not much else besides this fact, and really it's quite that. They're saying a week. The week that they're giving them is pretty crazy. But they're actually asking them to agree to a ceasefire deal, or it will go ahead with its military operation in Rafah. Egyptian officials briefed on the matter on Friday said that the militant group holds out for better terms that would ensure its survival. Egypt worked with Israel on a revised ceasefire proposal that it presented to Hamas last weekend. According to Egyptian officials, and Hamas political leadership is expected to consult with its military wing in Gaza to respond. The group's military leader in the Strip, who is believed to be hiding in tunnels in the enclave and makes the final decision, hasn't responded. It's kind of crazy that they say that the person who makes the final decision is literally in a tunnel You would think that they would try to sneak that guy out and have him out of the country or something, because they have already said that a lot of Hamas members have actually gotten out and that they're all over in neighboring countries. But apparently the guy that makes all the decision is deep down in a garage somewhere. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Dex, as far as then, it's kind of like this isn't a date that we're putting out. It's an actual date. So they're saying in 7 days, if this doesn't, if they don't come up with a plan, then the big event, watch something else happen. Like, nobody wants this to happen, because even the people that support both sides, it's like, then that all of these countries that said that that's basically World War III if you go into Rafah and do this, that it's going to be a bad thing.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is they're willing to say there's 7 days, and they're willing to wait until next week. But at the same time, they said it doesn't matter what happens in the negotiation, they're still going to take it. So I don't know how important this really is. If it's just, hey, let's give it a delay to see if we can get some more negotiations out and get part of the the hostages freed, or if it's just lip service, because, according to Netanyahu, they're going in no matter what. It doesn't matter.
An important part, William Burns, and we've pointed this out, pretty much anywhere he has gone, something crazy has happened within pretty close. And this goes for all the former agency director. The Central Intelligence Agency director, the 3-letter agency director, William Burns, arrived in Cairo on Friday for meetings with Egyptian officials. So how many of you think, and again, the CIA, they are the ones who are really front-running this. They have met with other leaders. Why do more people not ask, like, why is it CIA doing this? Why is that the department in charge of this whole thing? If you have an answer for that, let me know in the comments down below. And let's see here. Thank you, Chanel Beveliqua. Thank you guys for stopping by last night. And thank you, Joanne Breeze. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, and thank you, Nevitz. Thank you that just subscribed. We have Bell. We have Behringer. Thank you for subscribing. We have Hugh. Thank you for subscribing. And Rinda Jane and Team Alaska. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. All right, and then let's see here. Before we go to that, former National Security Advisor gives chilling warning about World War III. Before we do, I do want to remind you, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield if you haven't already. It's a simple device that can protect you against not only EMP, but CME. We've been talking about all of the crazy solar events that are going on right now. More so than EMP, if you haven't been watching Wages channel, I'll use this opportunity to help one of our friends here. Wages has been covering all of these crazy solar events every day. So go over and check out his channel. He is over on the friends list. You can actually go over to friends and then scroll down to the last mod. He's closing in on 60,000 subscribers, so go give him a hand. But he has been covering this, and it has been one after another, strange events coming off the sun. At the same time, you've got all of this happening down here on Earth with all of these rich elites prepping and getting backup passports, people buying up farmland and doing all this. I highly recommend you at least follow the basics, and Wages makes that easy because it's only a few minutes every time he covers something, and then he gives you the gist of it pretty quick. So make sure to go check him out and help him get to 60 there. But as far as that goes, again, go check out EMP Shield if you haven't already. It's, again, a device that can actually protect you against not only EMP, but CME as well. That's marfugglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. It takes 10 minutes to put in your car, and then your car will run to get home or to get out to bug out. All right, and then, Dex, do you want to go over National Security Advisor gives chilling warning?
Yeah, here we have another warning to think about from another talking head. So this is coming from General H.R. McMaster. You guys remember him from the former president's time. So he was the special advisor to DT. He urged Washington and UK to increase their defense spending in anticipation of global conflict. He has cautioned that a series of cascading crises, quote unquote, cascading crises, such as what's happening in the Middle East and what's going on in UKR with Russia, will actually spell disaster. So McMaster advised the White House to increase defense spending to 4% of GDP, twice as much as currently required from the NATO nations. The money should be spent on high-tech missile systems such as the Iron Dome, according to experts. So he could be on the cusp of another world war, he told the British broadcaster. I know that sounds dramatic, but I think we have to take it seriously so we can prevent that from happening. So, again, these are big statements from people, but these are people that actually have some sort of knowledge. I mean, he didn't have that position in the past because he didn't have knowledge. He didn't have that position because he didn't have experience. He's a general. He's got lots of military experience. So, we have to just take it with a grain of salt, like we take all of it. But at the same time, I don't think what he's saying is actually that far off. We know, especially in this community, we talk all the time about the obvious, which is we're headed towards a major conflict.
People are going to think one way or the other. McMaster is the same general that said that Tucker Carlson was a useful idiot. I don't know if you remember that. He also said something negatively about T-Man, but this was like last year. Now he's like back in the boat of like supporting our former president. During the time that that Trump was president, he was fully supportive, but then he had that little time of doing that. So there's going to be more debate about that than what he's actually saying. As far as you think about somebody like McMaster, these guys are retired, and as far as people go, oh well, they're retired. I think a lot more of the retired folks we talk to are more knowledgeable than the current active military than we talk to. And here's the reason why. Those retired, most of the time, they spent 20, 25, 30 years. They spent so many years in the military. They did their full time. And then they retired. So during that time period, they got a lot of experience. Rather than somebody who might be active duty, but they're in their second year, who's going to know more? Somebody that was there for 22 years or somebody that was there for 2 years. McMaster, on the other hand, he was also the head of national security. So this is somebody who, obviously their opinion should be taken, but at the same time, you look at who's in their pocket, who's paying them to say what. But in this case, I don't know. Is he just opinionated and kind of speaks his mind? And either way, though, they've talked about this, and he is basically saying the exact same thing that our whole community is saying. And you know what? This article does not have what the other article had. Dex, I don't know if I was reading a different one but there's another part that talks about some of his views lined up exactly with what our community thinks. And by our community, I think like a lot of the comments by you guys about what they believe is going to happen. And McMaster, I don't know, maybe he's in, you wonder what he watches when he's watching, politics and stuff like that. Is he agreeing with some of the stuff that's being said by the prep community? I just wonder if, that's where he's getting it from, or is this independent thought from his job and from what he's experienced? Because he said things that were just like identical to what our whole community is saying right now. So I just wonder, is he now part of the community? Now he's retired? Specifically about just the cascading crisis, the cascading crisis. It's like one thing after another. This is how I've been saying forever. I've been saying it's going to roll out, and we're going to see all of them go at once. It's going to be like the ring of fire lighting up, right? It's going to be one volcano after the other. In this case, it's going to be one more after another, and they're all going to pop off at the same time, and the U.S. can't handle all of them. There's no way. It makes the most common sense too. If we are your adversary, you have to not only take us down a notch inside our country, you have to take us down a notch in our education, in our finances, in our infrastructure, all of these things, and our military. As far as our military over the time, even since when H.R. McMaster was in the general, it's like everything about that. They've been mass firings, and who the hell is doing the firing? Who are they replacing the firing is? Why are they firing certain people in our military and then hiring certain people? Why are they hiring certain people with little to no requirements for the job title. Why are these things happening? It really seems like somebody in a very, very high place is just straight up a puppet of, say, China or Russia or somebody else. I mean, heck, one of his other constituents told China, hey, I'll give you a call if T-Man ever, launches a missile. That was Milley, not McMaster. So this was one of the other guys. Milley, though, most people, I see the word traitor put in the chat every time I mention his name. It's like he literally said he was going to tell China that we would bomb them. Is McMaster better? Worse? Again, what's crazy is they even said that they're going to monitor people talking badly about military folks. Why would they do that? That's just weird. We covered that last year. It's freaking odd. All right. And I believe he's right. I personally agree. I don't think everybody says, oh, these are fear-mongering scare tactics, headlines, whatever else. I think that this is right. I think that this is what we are about to see, and it's been playing out for a long time, and now that we're at the precipice, people don't want to accept it. It won't affect us. It won't affect us immediately here, but some of the other things could, like the side events or big events that happen as retaliations or tit-for-tat attacks or cyber events. I do believe we're going to have a massive cyber event here, and I really hope it doesn't happen. And again, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope everybody else is right that says it's all just a bunch of fear. Dex, do you want to talk about the Seoul Spy Agency warns North Korea is plotting attack on embassies? Gosh, this looks like a setup from a movie, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I mean, just the fact that we're getting it from the spy agencies. We've always get stuff from South Korea's spy agency telling us what they believe is going to happen with NK. And again, here we have a very specific intelligence that they're saying that they're plotting attacks against the embassy staff. So the National Intelligence Service said it had recently detected numerous signs that North Korea is preparing for T attacks, and interesting they're using that term, against our embassy staff or citizens in various countries, such as in China, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. So that's the specific quote of what they're suggesting. They said North Korea has dispatched agents to those countries to expand surveillance of South Korean embassies, and is also engaging in specific activities such as searching for South Korea's citizens as potential targets. So that's a pretty big claim. But it also, sort of sets the framework up now to pay attention and see if it actually comes true. Do we start to see actions happening in China or other locations in Southeast Asia or even the Middle East where South Korea has embassies? And didn't they just recently create an alliance? I think it was in Cuba. Sorry, I was thinking it was the Middle East, but it was Cuba. South Korea did. But yeah, we'll have to watch this one. It definitely sounds like it's right out of a movie.
And remind you, it says detected numerous signs that North Korea is preparing for T attacks against our embassy staff or citizens in various countries, and then specifically mentions such as China, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. So this is like the perfect setup for exactly what we said. Things are going to pop off in North Korea, and then you have, of course, Venezuela and Guyana. I could see the CNN exclusive coverage on it now, where they're knee deep in water, saying, "We're just up the creek right now. It's just getting crazy." And then the guy with the boom mic walking by, going, "Oops, shouldn't be in the shot." I can see it now. What do you guys see? I don't claim to be clairvoyant, but I think you don't have to be a psychic to see what's happening next. It's pretty simple to see. By the way, if you had to do a spelling test on the names in the Koreas, look at these names. Every name, there's not one name under 13 letters. Jeez. I guess that I don't know how their language works, but it looks like dong is after everything. So they basically the first part is the name, and then the second, I don't know how that works, but everything is everything is a dong. And U.S. spies see China-Russia militaries working closer on Taiwan. Huh? Isn't that just convenient? Again,
it's a neighborhood, by the way.
What was that?
I just looked it up. It's a neighborhood.
Oh,
the term dong is like saying neighborhood or city or county, so that's why they're all named that.
Oh, weird. So it's kind of like Ville or it's kind of like Westersonville or New York City.
So it's sort of like that, yeah. Sort of like replacing the word city or replacing the word Ville. But that's what it means in that language, apparently. I just looked it up. I didn't know that.
So I wonder if dongs are the small neighborhoods, and then what would be the big cities? Huh. Either way, U.S. spies see China-Russia militaries working closer on Taiwan. I mean, like, I don't know what to think about something like this. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. But it says U.S. intelligence officials assess that Russia and China are working more closely together on military issues, including a potential invasion of Taiwan. Does this not paint the picture we've been painting for 5 freaking years? That all of them are going to do whatever they need to do at the same time. Then when sanctions and when everybody splits, they're going to have they're going to have a BRICS set up. They're going to make sure that goes quicker. They have all of these countries that they're probably letting know behind closed doors, like, hey, you got to pick a side on the table. And now countries like Niger, they're saying, hey, this is about to go down. You need to pick your side, otherwise you're going to be on the wrong side of history. Niger's like, okay, we'll kick out the U.S. It's like, look at the divide that's happening. We can even see where there are countries that are actually pro-U.S. or involved with the U.S. They're reversing it. They're putting it in reverse and going, nope, to where yesterday we literally covered in Niger. They still have U.S. soldiers on the base. They're in one building. Russian soldiers have come and moved into the other building. I mean, like, I think the easiest answer here is the best answer here. I think it's really obvious. But again, since they are covering some of it, nobody's going to believe it, because if it's MSM, it's fake news, which I understand, but some of this stuff is real. They're just spinning how you see it. We see China and Russia for the first time exercising together in relation to Taiwan and recognizing that this is the place where China definitely wants Russia to be working with them. And we see no reason why they wouldn't. Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines said Thursday in testimony to Congress. So, yeah, I don't see any doubt on that. So you may see Russian soldiers helping with the Taiwan invasion. You're definitely seeing the spies work on it. So now Russia and China working together for China's greater goal to take Taiwan. What's stopping us from having more stuff going on like this? And then, Dex, do you want to talk about the huge network of satellites that could be used against U.S. troops?
Certainly. So China has developed a network of hundreds of military satellites that could be used to target U.S. troops. The Pentagon has now warned. So Major General Greg Gagnon, the Deputy Chief of Space Operations for the intelligence, was talking at a conference and said that they had developed sophisticated military satellite programs. He said they could be used to track and target U.S. troops moving to defend Taiwan. Now, I think this goes kind of like with what we were talking about previously or recently about them being able to easily see our ships, even though we're trying to be undetected because they have new technology. And I think that's part of this network of satellites. I don't remember what they called that. You may recall, Adam, but that capability that they have now, that they claim they can target our ships from a distance and detect us when we used to be undetectable. So, yeah.
And stop our radar.
Yeah, oh, that's it. It was the radar too. Yep.
But you're right.
It's another.
They can find us anywhere.
They can, and it's another leader in this case coming from the Pentagon telling us to be worried about the specific space capabilities that they're deploying against us, but also teeing up the fact that this is going to be against Taiwan or used against us to defend Taiwan.
Now, I haven't heard much about where the 5 carriers that went to the South China Sea are, but what would we have to do is, if they can see us coming, would we just have to hang out there basically the entire time? Would we have to have permanent stations over there? I'm surprised. Why doesn't if Taiwan allows it, why don't they start doing the same thing that China's doing and go off of Taiwan and build islands? Help them build some defensive islands or something. It looks like they might need them. It says they will now, in a way that we're not comfortable talking about in America, they will be inside a rapidly expanding weapons engagement zone. That's what they said about all of that. And then this satellite system, you can believe it or not, that it's their claim, but if it is true, it can find our ships wherever. Part of our thing was finding our ships. It was a big deal why it was almost impossible to really track what was going on before satellites. And if they wanted to go quiet, they could. But you can't go quiet. You can't hide a 600-foot ship, not if you've got vision on it the whole time, and not if they're following it, too. I mean, think about this. Now they have the ability to follow it from not only from where it takes off, but they could just permanently sit a drone above it and follow it the entire time. China didn't have that capability back in the day. So, yeah, hopefully it all ends meaningfully well. China blasts rocket to the eerie far side of the moon in Chang'e's 6 mission to grab mysterious rock samples before NASA. Sorry, guys, I'm coming down with something, I can tell. What are they doing here? And well, let's go over to the audience for this one. So I know a lot of you guys already know about this, and let's go over to the audience. What do you guys think that they're doing with this rock grab? I'm going to fix this up real quick. Dex, do you want to go talk about this? I have to reload it real quick.
Yeah, certainly. So they are going to what some people call the dark side or the other side of the moon, and they actually launched. So they launched this mission today, and they're now telling us that they're going there to retrieve new samples off of the moon. Everybody is racing to get to the southern pole of the moon. That's not where they're headed right now. They're headed for something on the backside. They're able to accomplish this mission. Apparently, it's going to take 50-something days, 53 days. They're going to accomplish it because they already have a relay satellite that's orbiting the moon. So they're going to use that relay satellite to send the communications, I guess, to the backside and to help, or the far side, help the communications and the comms and all the information needed to land and collect and then potentially take back off. So the big question is, what are they after here? But we do know there's a major race right now. There's a race to grab the land, grab the location, specifically in the southern area. We've seen all the countries, including the Artemis program that's headed there too, from the U.S. We're all in a hurry to get to the southern section of the moon, primarily to set up a base. Ultimately, that base is to help get to Mars, because that will be the stopping point along the way.
That's what they say, at least. And why? Why is everybody going to the moon? Why all of a sudden? You know that they know something we don't. And it might just completely surprise us when we do find out, or if we ever do find out. What the heck are they doing? It shows me, like, if there was something this important, then if we went to the moon 40, 50 years ago, then why didn't we see this back then? Why didn't they, why was there no importance to this until just recently? Is it because they found new resources, or is it because they truly are looking at these asteroids going by with, gazillions of dollars? But what's the point of gazillions of dollars if your entire society has collapsed? Think about how AI and all of this, humans are devolving. The computers, though, they are all getting much more advanced, but we're devolving. And what's scary is the next step is literally integrating, and this is what people aren't thinking about. Like, people in my generation are kind of mad, and the generations above me, like, they're like, oh gosh, look at now everybody's on a cell phone. The next generation is going to be like, oh gosh, everybody has a Neuralink. Everyone is tapped into the computers. This is coming. This is happening. This is the future. And that's what's so damn terrifying. Like, I know there was a lot of people that held out on cell phones. They're like, I'm not going to have a cell phone. Imagine when a bunch of young people are going to have special hats and accessories and probably dongles hanging off of their Neuralink implant. They're probably going to have keychains for them. Probably going to be able to get, almost like those little charms that you put in your Crocs. Only it'll be for your Neuralink. In fact, they'll call them neural blinks. Neural. Yeah, I can't say that word. That's a bad word. You know what I mean. But it's crazy because now they say that they're going to the moon and doing all of this. It's like, what's the point? What's the point if we get trillions and billions and billions of dollars? It's not going to fix society. So what the hell are they really doing up there? What happens if one country or another gets a quadrillion trillion dollar frickin' asteroid worth of resources? How does that change things? Will that make them all of a sudden the number one country in the world instantly, overnight? I mean, if they do have the most money, it probably would. But where's the value in that money if there's no society? If things are falling apart, if there's a war and nobody can get along, then that also means that what comes with the $1 billion, $1 trillion asteroid or whatever they are secretly after, then it's also like, there's a change in the system too. What do you guys think? We've got Occam's razor, power and control over the world, right? They're cutting off a lot of the dongles lately. Yep, I know. Neutered Minds, Tree Hookers, what's going on? Burger Time. David Bagley, Amish Aloha, what's going on? We have Bobby Sue, Skittles is a good strain. Faith Parent, they lie all day long. Yes, it says it's all fake. Don't look up, Texas Mouse. I know, right? They're really out there, or at least they say they are, looking for these gazillion dollar asteroids. And now we're seeing all of these missions to the moon. What the heck are they really doing? And I definitely think there's a lot to be questioned about the first moon landings, or all of them, but because we had computers as strong as a happy birthday card back then, and somehow we couldn't do it with today's technology, since we've literally gotten to the point where we can hook up microprocessors to the brain, but now we still haven't gone back. It's just weird. Fong Bong says they're setting the stage. I wonder if he lives in one of the... Anyways. Sean C., why worry? I guess, well, I don't think many people are worried. I don't know, maybe you're talking to somebody in the chat. Come on, we all know. All lies they tell, Tartan Granny. What is really going on? I am firm on the firmament. Affirm, amen. Active faith. Jonathan Floming, if the jaws are moving and not eating, they're lying. Yeah, so most people believe that they're full of crap about the moon. I would say I would at least believe that they were able to get to the moon now. But prior, the first one, come on. I don't know. All of those videos, yeah. It's kind of funny. If you think about today's video and where it's gone, it's like it was harder to fake a good movie back then, and those were not good. Those were even bad. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And before we move on, if you haven't already, go check out Jace. If you're looking for a way to get yourself backup medications, if things hit the fan, or even if you have a regional kind of disaster in your area, pharmacies shut down. If we have a true SHTF, pharmacies will be one of the first things to go down, along with power and water supplies and everything else. If you think that we're not going to have gas stations, we're not going to have power, we're not going to have all of this, and somehow there's going to be pharmacists sitting around to keep the system together, I highly doubt it. So this is a good way, because not only do they have emergency antibiotics in the form of the Jace case, they also have a system, it's called Jace Daily, where you can get your regular medicines and get a year supply. Once they send that to you, then you can basically rotate your regular prescription into it, so you will always have a year of supplies. So again, it's a really, really cool system, because after they send you the first, then they send you monthly, and then so you'll always have a year extra supply. You get the board-certified doctor. It's a telehealth appointment. It's very easy. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to go there to learn more. And then also you'll be helping us out, and you'll be getting yourself a backup on some of the most important stuff ever. We were just talking about the Boeing whistleblower yesterday. He perished of MRSA. Yeah, MRSA. Apparently he got some infection, right? And yeah, when you're a whistleblower, infections can get you. So what you need to do is always have antibiotics around, especially if you're going to blow the whistles, okay? Because simple infections, they can get you. But yeah, again, go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use the code MARF. And then Dex, China declines to meet with the U.S. on nuclear arms control. So it seems like it's
there,
going,
right?
Yeah, it's going downhill, even with China now.
Yeah. So, they had said back in November when they had the meeting, they were going to follow up and they were going to have a nuclear arms talk to talk about potentially how they would manage going forward. I know that we just talked yesterday about how we would like to see both Russia and China commit to saying no AI in their nuclear platforms, so that there would be no control for AI. But they don't even want to come to the table. They don't even want to talk. So they have China has rejected the U.S. efforts to resume the talks on arms control, and that's over at this point. So we don't know what will come from this, if anything, but it sounds like to me we're not really in a good position to have these kinds of conversations, especially since China and Russia are teaming up on, the team against the West, whatever you want to call it BRICS, call it whatever. It is the antithesis of the West. So everybody that is a U.S. ally is on one side, and everybody that's not is getting in bed on the other side, and the world is now going to be divided, clearly. And that is the setup for the great conflict that's coming. And having conversations like this doesn't even make sense to them if they're looking at this from a conflict point of view. So, yeah.
Now, good comment here. Samuel Turner says China must move on Taiwan this month for the best weather conditions. If not, October is the next opportunity. Again, that's only 5 months out too, so I wouldn't doubt that they would wait 5 months. But I definitely think they're going to do it while they still have all their guys trained. They did the massive drills with their current military. They're not going to wait 6 years. I mean, I guess they could, but still, mostly says it was such a massive drill. It was the most massive drill they've ever done. With their entire Navy, with their military. They had tanks lined up along the water. They already practiced loading up. Did you guys know that they had brought tanks to the coastline? They practiced this. They practiced what they're going to do when they take Taiwan. A lot of these parts have already been done. They drove tanks through the middle of the street. Now remember, they also got really, really strict about what kind of information was going out of China. Folks with VPNs were able to get some clips out of it. But you clearly saw that they're super, super cracking down on internet and getting information out. Look at this. They just banned Telegram and Signal there on top of all of the WhatsApp and all of that. They're banning those. And people go, oh, it's just because we banned TikTok and this and that. They're also banning encrypted services out of China. They banned flight radar, the equipment that actually tracks their flights around. They don't want people seeing what's flying around their country. They don't want to have people. And then guess what? Funny enough, right when around the time they did that, Mike Minahan that runs our stuff took the identifying numbers off of our cargo ships, our cargo planes, all of them, their entire fleet. They were like, oh, let's remove the identifying numbers. So when you see a military cargo plane, you might not know it's even military. Like, what in the hell is going on? I think it's pretty simple to see. I think it's really easy to see, and that's what I've been warning people. I've been warning people for a long time. I've been afraid to just straight up warn, but I mean, like, that's what I believe. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are feeling it in their gut. They might even feel it, but they don't see it. When you keep looking at it, it's not like they say that some things are like confirmation bias, where if you already think something, you're going to see that, right? This is such a broad thing. This isn't like connecting crazy dots. This is connecting really simple dots. Everything is right in front of us. We just have to go with our gut. But yeah, and then mysterious spiral UFO sightings reported across U.S. and Europe. Yeah, I don't know what the heck these were, but we'll have to get your opinion. Social media users have reported mysterious spiral UFO sightings across the United States and Europe this week, with one witness saying that they saw an object in the night sky that was emitting some sort of haze. Huh. Well, we're not in April, so it's probably not that. Sightings were reported in Ukraine and Finland, as well as in cities in Arizona and California. Interest in unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, blah, blah, blah. I love how they always put this in there for, like, who is this for? Where they explain, like, UFOs, otherwise known as, like, everybody knows what a UAP and a UFO is. I guess that's for Grandma Jan or something. Let's see here. Peaked last year after several experts testified before a Congress committee in July of 2023 that they could pose a threat to national security. A Gallup poll conducted in 2021 found 41% of Americans believe alien craft have visited Earth, up 8 points from 33% in 2019. I also think a lot of people don't admit that they actually believe it, but you would think if they're in an anonymous poll or something like that, that they would. Somebody please tell me this isn't a UFO, completely clear skies, and I see a super blurry white light. So let me show you some of the images here, or video here. This is part of what they're talking about. So I have to admit, it looks like, it doesn't look like, unless it's foggy, it doesn't look like a plane. And it doesn't look like a satellite. And satellites don't have atmosphere to have that haze. Do you see what we mean? It's like UFO sighting in Santa Barbara, clear skies. You can even see the stars in the video, but the light. So, and again, that point of saying that it clear skies kind of tells you that, that it wasn't foggy. Look at that one. This one's even better. And it was moving much faster before. Is that not wild or what? And then another angle, right? Yeah. So let me put here. Let's see here. All right, so we have some images here from this. I mean, do you guys think this is like Project Bluebeam or something? Like, what the heck is going on here? Look at that. Look at the aura around it. Is that spooky? Are we in fake invage time? Dex, from what you saw, what did you think it was?
Yeah, it looks like some sort of aircraft of some sort, whether it's, probably something we've not seen before. I don't know if it's a rocket, because usually when it's rockets, they look a lot different than that. You don't get the lighting that you would see if it was, if it was a rocket. Well, depending on the time of day. I don't know what the exact times of day of these pictures were taken, but a lot of times you'll see the trail or you'll see the plume be lit up from the sun because of the position, even though it may be dark where you are because it's night there, but it's so high. But in this case, you're not. You're just seeing whatever's lighting is, as the one person said, it's coming from itself. And that's obviously some sort of propulsion. Or at least I would think that's what it is.
Yeah, it definitely is just free. This looks like, I thought it was a long exposure, or it was moving, or the camera was moving, but the stars are still. So was it like a line like that? Like, this is really weird looking. God, how annoying. Why would they put that there? Going whoop, whoop, whoop. What do you guys think it is? let's pop over to the chat here. Maybe a dispersal. I hope not. Ron Sipple, artist. Major, what is going on? Flying orb, portal, plasma. Actually, I saw a lot of plasma comments on that. So what would plasma be? Can one of you guys explain? And I understand what plasma is, but what do you mean by plasma? Like, why would a plasma be up in our skies? Is there some... Would plasma also be a UFO? Would that be... What would that be? Rip Curl Readiness. Hey, thank you to our mods that are here. Make sure to go thank them by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. He's got his channel over there, so make sure to go follow. And then Kevin Newton, Daniel Sen, let's hear Paul to Saul. Plasma hypersonic. So is that something? Obviously, it's an interdimensional being. I don't know. Christine Potato Flesh. Yeah, the videos are over on the website, so you can go. It might be because if I'm showing you a video, then it's going through us. We're watching a video and showing it to you, so it might lose quality. So feel free to watch it yourself. It's attached over on the website, marfooglenews.com. You can see for yourself what you think. I'd love to hear your opinions. Make sure to come back and comment, though. The comments they're not only awesome for everybody else to see, but it always helps us as well. It shows that everybody's engaging and having a fun time. And then pictured U.S. tests futuristic new Manta. So I found this while I was working on this other thing, and to be honest, Dex and I were looking at this thing, and we were trying to debunk this other thing, and we couldn't either debunk it or verify it as far as what it actually was. But we do know that there's a system that is a torpedo-driven drone that is mine detection. There's a big kind of argument right now whether these were washing up on our coasts. By the end of it, it sounds like we have many companies that are working with the U.S. government. We can briefly talk about that tomorrow, but it is kind of scary stuff because the small potential that something's going on off our coastlines, it's pretty creepy. But when you see some of this, and then I found this, which is a Manta Ray underwater drone. Something about just anything underwater gives me just a spooky feeling. Like if I was on a little, paddle boat and this thing came underneath me, I would be flipping. First of all, we've all seen like the videos for years about underwater UAP or underwater aerial phenomena or whatever they call them. And this looks like if say we were around for another 5,000 years, what do you think these would evolve into, right? How could science not just keep going and going and going? So it makes you wonder, like, what are the things that we're seeing? Are they us? Are they us from the future? Are they somebody else from the future? Look at these things. This is massive, too. This is the size of a guy. And what made me think is, like, what if they make these as, like, submarines? What a cool frickin' design. Is that not, like, insane? The United States has completed the first full-scale test at sea of a futuristic underwater drone able to hibernate on the seabed. Think about that. It's able to go down to the seabed and then sit there. The Manta Ray prototype, produced by U.S. aviation giant Northrop Grumman, is part of a U.S. Navy project to develop a new class of underwater drone capable of carrying out much longer missions. The giant autonomous craft, which is several times larger than a small boat, has been designed to move through the ocean for very long periods of time without supervisions or need to refuel. So there's a good chance that you might be on a boat watch or a whale watching tour and you might see something like this cruise underneath your boat. It creeps me out. And I guarantee you, people that don't know about this, the thing is people don't follow this stuff. If you're on a regular boat or on a fishing boat, you see this thing. This is literally got the potential to be one of the next like myths It's going to be like, oh, I saw a sea monster. If you saw something like that, I mean, there's big manta rays, but there's nothing that big. That's as big as a bus. I mean, that's bigger than a bus in both ways. Once deployed, the vehicle uses efficient buoyancy-driven gliding to move through the water. The Manta Ray program manager at Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, of course, DARPA, defense analysts have speculated that the U.S. Navy wants to develop a drone capable of long missions to scour the seas for Russian and Chinese submarines. The craft is designed with several payload bays of multiple sizes and types to enable a wide variety of naval mission sets. So this thing could deliver bombs that end up floating up to the top and taking out ships. Like, there's all sorts of purposes that this thing could do. But is that not a trip or what? I thought it was freaking cool. Like, this is why we have the most badass military in the world. Because we have things like DARPA, where they're constantly cooking up concoctions with no budget. Like, they just spend whatever. If it can take people's lives or sneak in somewhere, let's do it. What do you guys think? Dex, is that not cool? Did you realize how big it was when I sent it? From the picture, it looks small, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that's huge.
Yeah, it is large, and it is very cool. And yeah, that's pretty sneaky. Like, just go inch its way in or slowly work its way into a great position against an enemy somewhere, and then just sit dormant, and then launch when it needs to.
What if they're designing one like this too? What if you put a nuke on one of these, you crawl up to a certain part on the ocean floor, and then detonate? You could cause a tsunami with something like this. Just a thought. And then, Dex, do you want to go over the new thruster could achieve escape velocity and interplanetary travel?
Well, apparently, and maybe that's what we saw in the sky. Maybe they were testing these new thrusters, but I doubt it. But they're basically saying they've had these certain types of chemical reaction engines that they've used to move satellites and other things around, but what they haven't had the ability to do with what's called an ion thruster was to do it at a larger scale where they could, literally achieve longer distances and things like that. So, but these new engines, they're as old as rocketry itself, it says, were first dreamed up, their future uses were more than a century ago, but today these electric propulsion systems power a swarm of satellites around Earth and make modern life possible. But unlike chemical rockets that throw out gases for propulsion, ion engines are powered by individual atoms, which make them much more fuel efficient and allow satellites to operate for longer. So for those of you that ever wondered how the satellites survive so long, it's because they're using these small ion engines. So, but in the future, a spacecraft will need to perform high velocity propulsion maneuvers, such as achieving escape velocity, meaning being able to get out of the hold of the gravitation of Earth or another planet, and being able to have that high amount of energy to do that. And the current ion engines can't deliver that. So they have now developed a sub-kilowatt half-effect thrusters, the next generation ion engine that can supply a velocity change. So apparently, I guess they're making these ion engines that are going to be strong enough or stronger that'll get beyond just being able to maneuver satellites in and out of position or change their orbit to being able to think about using this type of technology to transfer or move across large areas, maybe to the moon, maybe to Mars, maybe to other locations. It's almost sci-fi like if you think about some of the capabilities you've seen in, Star Trek or Star Wars or anything else, that newer propulsion systems, that's what this is. It's a totally different, it's not the kind of combustion rocket that we see Elon blasting off all the time. This is something that's been around, but it's never been able to be done in a large scale.
When I hear the name of it, the sub-kilowatt, I couldn't help but think it's kilowatts from Back to the Future. Good old Doc Brown. So anything that ends up being at like DARPA or the government, that's going to trickle down. If we're seeing these underwater drones and things like this, if we're seeing them now, civilian use, they originally had some sort of military use. If you look at almost everything, including the internet, including Facebook, including all of this stuff. Before it was civilian use, it was military. Almost every invention, it's like if you have something that's extremely popular, most of the time, if it's something super convenient, the original version was for a military purpose. It's like it's kind of sad that all of our innovation comes from military. That's where they spend the money on inventions, and then they go, oh wait, we could use this for that. It's basically where all of it comes from. And then let's see here. Thank you, Samuel Turner. I appreciate your support again. Thank you. Darren, thank you over on DLive. Thank you guys. The end is near. Poco Loco, J Girl, that's me. Tiger 101, thank you for following. Comet Moon, Ecto 1. Bug Nana, thank you for gifting out a badge to Comet Moon. And then Kimbria, thank you for making it to another show. And then we have State Farm announces major insurance policy change affecting tens of thousands of households, and you won't see this one coming. California's largest insurance provider announced it would not renew insurance policies for approximately 72,000 homes and apartments in the state beginning this summer. It says what's happening. State Farm stated that it would discontinue coverage for around 30,000 homes and 42,000 apartments, citing surging costs, increasing risks of disasters such as wildfires, and outdated insurance rules as reasons for terminating the policies, per the Associated Press. And by the way, we are coming up on, obviously, you get into summer, you're going to get into fire season. Are they saying that they know something is coming? Obviously, there's fires every year, but why these specifically? And again, are we going to see a massive, massive fire like we did a few years ago? Insurance, their whole job is they spend millions and millions of dollars trying to see the future. They are trying to see the patterns. They're sort of like us, but they do it for a business. They're straight up like trying to figure out the future of not only economics, of politics, of everything, because they're trying to see what's coming. Dex, go ahead.
No, you're spot on. And mind you, this was something we talked about 9 months ago, because they had announced 9 months ago, hey, we're no longer going to write new policies. And it wasn't just them. It was a whole lot of insurers that said, we're just not going to do any more work in California. They didn't say they were going to cancel their customers. They just said they weren't taking on new stuff. So if you're trying to buy a house, you couldn't go to State Farm or anybody else, any of the major players, because most of them had bailed. And it was like you had to find these secondary insurers to insure your home if you're trying to buy a house in California. But now they're canceling. So that means because these policies get renewed every year, a homeowner's policy or a renter's policy gets renewed every 6 months or every year, depending on how you have it set up. And when that cycle comes around, you're just not going to be up for renewal. So you got to find another insurance. And that's going to be difficult, because it's going to, cause probably a greater expense to other people, because maybe they've had, long-term policy with somebody like State Farm and they had discounts and other stuff like that. And now they got to go shop the secondary market.
And it says, well, property owners in California who are facing non-renewal can buy a fair access to insurance requirements plan, a state-run private insurance program that offers policies to high-risk customers. It says, quote, the last resort coverage is usually more expensive and provides minimal coverage compared to standard policies. So all of these people just got screwed. Not only were they said, hey, even though you haven't had any problems, you're canceled. But on top of that, they're saying, hey, basically now you're stuck with going and getting these second and third party things that are last resort coverages that are not going to cover half of the stuff that may actually happen. Even if they were customers for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they're getting cut because of where they live. That really sucks. And I'm sorry for any of you if you're in that zone. I bet you we have Fugle fam that's in that area. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is also on the heels of them, not just State Farm, but insurance companies in general, expanding their definitions for things like cyber and conflicts and the types of conflicts that may or may not happen, and getting them to not or writing into the policy where they're not going to cover certain things. So again, these people know what's coming. They know what's there, whether it be natural disasters they know are coming, or things like, conflict that they know is coming, and they don't want to be stuck having to pay the bill, because that is not a profitable business. And a company like State Farm, which isn't a company, I think it's a mutual business, but the whole point is that it's not to lose money, it's to make money, and if it gives that money back to its customers. So it tries to keep it in balance. If they lose 10 million here, they got to make 10 million over there. It's always got to equal out.
Yeah, and that the expansion that Dex is talking about, it specifically talks about people rising up, civil conflict. It talks about cyber events, EMP. It talks about all that. They've just now added all of these things. So, and then they start canceling for certain people. And is this the first of many? Are they going to try to batch these out so they're not such a huge deal? Are they gonna go to multiple states and do this? I would highly recommend, if you're in California, especially the areas affected, I would be on head on a swivel mode. That's for sure. So yeah, speaking of head on a swivel, go get yourself some food. If you're in California, you already know you've got crazy things that may happen every year. If you want to start freeze drying your own stuff, which ends up being more affordable this way, once you invest in the system, it is definitely a lot cheaper than buying pre-packaged foods. That initial investment is not cheap, because these are really, really high quality machines that make it basically the easiest thing ever. It's basically set it and forget it type of thing. So make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/freeze. They're very easy to use. They are very smart as far as how they're put together, and as far as the quality of them, they're the best machine out there. That is why these are so coveted, and why during CV people were scalping these. People were trying to get them whichever way they could. So go over to Harvest Right at marfooglenews.com/freeze, and you can get up to $500 off right now. So again, go check that out. That is, again, the largest sale they've done since Black Friday. And I believe they did one other that was Black Friday equivalent since. So they do it about two or three times a year at most, at least from the time we've been with them. So make sure to go check that out. Up to $500 off and free shipping. marfooglenews.com/freeze. All right, you guys, and thank you, Tiger. Thank you to all the new people that have joined us. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother. Good show.
And make sure to tune into news. Again, we're going to be doing all sorts of cool projects over there. Thank you, Reverend Brian York. Thank you, Larry Gatlin. A special thanks to your mods. Make sure to drop an M in the chat right now. Again, thank you to our PayPal supporters of 2023. I cannot say thank you enough, you guys. Linda S., Dawn D., Jacqueline L., Dean G., Jeff B., Lisa H., Sheila B., Tony D., and Joanna H. We don't say thank you that often, but again, coming up on, it's a new cycle, so I want to thank everybody that has helped. And again, thank you, and thank you, guys. You help our independent news stay alive, so I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. More so, though, please share our stuff out if you can. That's the best help you can do. Share our channel and our shows with somebody who you think would value it. It would be much, much appreciated. Thank you, guys. Much love. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.
Window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse wrong. Marfoogle News, where are you? Only news I use.